Narcissists abuse people, and there is absolutely no debate about this. They cause suffering, inflict harm, and hurt others. That too is not up for discussion. And yet, despite all this, numerous misconceptions persist, the first and most important one being, how do narcissists actually perceive their own behavior? How do they view their choices, decisions, transgressions, and actions? Do they see themselves as abusers, as perpetrators, or do they have a different perspective on how they behave throughout life? That is precisely the topic of this talk. How narcissists perceive their own abuse. Some self-proclaimed experts on the internet claim that narcissism is genetically determined, which sounds logical, and perhaps it is true, but there is currently no serious, rigorous scientific evidence to support that claim, so making such assertions is irresponsible. Especially when those same self-proclaimed experts claim that pathological narcissism includes intent, that the abuse is premeditated, deliberate, and targeted, thereby confusing narcissists with psychopaths. There is also an internal contradiction here. If pathological narcissism is genetically predetermined, then narcissistic behavior is also predetermined. It is programmed, not the result of conscious intent, not planned nor goal-directed. It is simply the consequence of genetic programming. Unfortunately, you can't have it both ways. The next major debate concerns whether narcissists are self-aware. Narcissists are fully aware of their actions. They know the difference between right and wrong. They make decisions, and they can influence and change their behavior. For example, when overcome by fear, in prison, where they are in danger, a narcissist becomes significantly less narcissistic, able to completely withdraw, to play dead. However, being aware of one's actions is not the same as being aware of one's motives, nor is it the same as knowing one's own beliefs and values, that is, doxastic and axiological self-awareness. Awareness of one's actions simply means knowing what you're doing. You are aware that what you do may have negative consequences for yourself and for others, and you know you're hurting people, but that does not mean you understand why you're doing it, nor does it mean you have control over that behavior. It's important to distinguish, something we rarely hear from self-proclaimed experts, between behavior that is intentional and behavior that is purposeful. A narcissist's actions, their transgressions, manipulations, controlling, and abusive behaviors are indeed purposeful. That is, they serve a function, but they are not intentional in the classical sense. Psychopathic abuse is both goal-directed and conscious. It is planned, deliberate, and targeted, whereas narcissistic abuse is purposeful but not intentional. Unconscious actions stemming from deep psychodynamic processes can be purposeful. Animals behave purposefully, viruses behave purposefully. The very notion of purposefulness means that a given action produces a certain outcome. There is a clear connection between cause and effect, but that does not imply any conscious control, deliberation, planning, or intent behind that action. Narcissists function like a kind of machinery. They are pre-programmed, full of glitches, prone to unpredictable behaviors, and they execute the same program over and over again. This is called compulsive repetition. They are aware of what they are doing, they can choose the right thing, but they most often choose the opposite. Quite simply, they don't care. In prison or the military, for example, they behave completely differently, so it's obvious they can regulate and adapt their behavior to circumstances. That is precisely why narcissists must be held accountable for their actions, both morally and legally. But at the same time, as they hurt, abuse, exploit, torment, and destroy others, the narcissist does it all mechanically, without understanding why. Even though they can switch it off, they cannot explain the reasons behind their actions. They are completely disconnected from their inner reality and from the external one as well. Pathological narcissism is close to psychosis, as Otto Kernberg once noted. So how does a narcissist view their own actions? They are aware of what they do, they know that what they're doing is wrong, but how do they interpret it? What stories do they tell themselves to feel good? What narratives do they construct to preserve their sense of worth and inner peace? In the broadest sense, narcissists do not perceive their actions as abuse. They don't believe what they're doing is wrong. They may know others see it that way, but they'll say, "That's what you think is wrong. I don't see it that way." In other words, they place themselves above the law. Like psychopaths, narcissists are a law unto themselves. This is called consummatiousness, the contemplation of one's own infallibility. So even when a narcissist says, "Most people think what I'm doing is wrong," they immediately construct a psychological defense, "But I don't see it that way. They are wrong." Anything a narcissist does that society, the law, or those around them consider immoral, they reinterpret as righteous. They are always right, infallible, omniscient, godlike. Their first line of defense is devaluing everyone else, convincing themselves that society, institutions, and individuals are inferior, intellectually and morally, incapable of making sound judgments. So they say, "You all think this is wrong, but I, as a superior, enlightened, divine being, declare that it is not." The second line of defense is portraying all these actions as well-intentioned, as tough love. The narcissist says, "I'm doing all of this to wake you up, to open your eyes, to fix you, to make you a better person, to motivate you, educate you, inspire you. I'm doing this for your own good. That's why I humiliate you, insult you, belittle you, attack you, criticize you, degrade you, because I love you, I care about you, I want what's best for you, I want you to thrive, to succeed. Everything I do it for you." This is a pro-social reframing of abuse. The narcissist says, "From the outside, an uninformed observer might think my actions are harmful, unkind, lacking empathy. But that's a false perception. It ignores my motivation. And my motivation, even though it's fictional and fantastical, is to help. To help my partner, children, friends, co-workers, even my nation. I am here to save, to heal, to lead. I am a born leader. And even though they are beneath me, my goal is to elevate them, to educate them, to enlighten them." That's the whole point of the abuse. It's just tough love. Another line of defense goes like this: "What I'm doing, even if it seems cruel, harmful, or malicious, is actually necessary. It's a corrective measure. I'm preventing worse outcomes. I know it looks bad even to me, but someone has to make the sacrifice, and that someone is me. I pay the price. I do it for the greater good." A common strategy is playing the victim role. The narcissist says, "My behavior is reactive. I abuse because I was abused. I'm defending myself. I'm surviving. Everyone is attacking me, undermining me, exploiting me. Everything I do is just self-defense." Then comes paranoid ideation. My abusers are covert, passive-aggressive, devious. They're hard to expose, but I know what they're doing. I am the eternal victim, and I'm just fighting for my rights, my peace, my mental health. All of these are psychological defenses against shame, guilt, internal conflict, against the discomfort of being in their own skin, ego dystonia. The narcissist is constantly rewriting their own story. They reinterpret everything, their actions, mistakes, violence, and present them as moral, justified, helpful, and socially acceptable. Another defense strategy: "Yes, I behaved aggressively. Everything they say about me is true, but it was punishment, revenge. I was humiliated, attacked, mocked, discriminated against. This is justice. I'm correcting a wrong." And finally, the last line of defense: "My behavior is nothing special. I'm not doing more harm than anyone else. It's normal. I'd even say it's a sign of honesty. I'm not a hypocrite. I'm open, direct. I say it to people's faces." A psychopath would add one more justification: "My victims deserved it. They were stupid. They weren't careful. They asked for it. It's not my fault. Anyone would have done the same in my situation. They are responsible for the circumstances I was in." This psychopathic defense is less common in narcissists. As we can see, narcissists are constantly occupied with reframing their decisions, behaviors, and relationships, as if they are the permanent screenwriters of their own lives, always writing a new story in which they are the hero, a story where they are good, moral, pro-social, worthy of admiration and glory. Thank you for watching. Please share this video and subscribe to our channel.